Okay, gotta dress up for work. There we are. Well, we've been working all day because that's usually what a trader does. But now it's time for this side. So welcome back to mentfx. In the last 4 videos or so, we did a step-by-step breakdown of a full system that I would personally use, the EVC, on a lower time frame in these 4 videos right here. Step by step, we went through each individual day and we walked through how we would look to get involved or take a step back and not get involved, and show you how important patience is even on a lower time frame system. So now, as per a video comment that I saw at some point today, let me see where it was. It was, can you record one more video like this? So for you, I'm going to do it. Where you said, I want it on a higher time frame, like a weekly, a daily, and a 4-hour. Sounds perfectly fine. Now, personally, a 4-hour is not, I don't think this is high enough. I think an hourly is better to move with the daily. But just for you, we're gonna prove that the EVC, using the simple rules that I've given a few times now. So again, we have, let's mute this. Okay. So again, we have EVC, where the entry time frame is now going to be a 4-hour. Once again, if we multiply that by 6, we get, actually, I'll do this quickly. 4 times 6 is this many hours, so a day, yeah, so exactly. So he did the math already, okay? So you get 4 hours, you get a day, and you get your C, which is the context, to about a week, which is 10 days, right? 10 days or about a week. Either way, perfect. So clearly this this trader right here is someone that utilizes or wants to utilize a higher base time frame system. So how can we do that on something like the action we've seen on gold over the last few weeks and months? Now, why over the last few weeks and months have we been bullish on gold? A lot of you should be able to tell me the answer before I even look at it, but the overall simple answer is because the mentfx screener, again, the software that we've built out with a team of engineers and that we're improving at the moment, is something that is pointed to, well, now it's of course, you guys have seen recently, gold's been having a little bit of a down move, right? It's a little bit of a down move. So of course, some of the timeframes are now moving into a more bearish direction, which is actually a great example of how right now in this moment, this is a market you likely want to stay away from. And guess what? If this is a market that you were watching, if you were watching it, there's not much to trade here if you really take a look at what's going on here. So beautiful, the tools are doing their job. But during the last few months, this thing has overall shown bullishness, which means all I can expect is that bullishness wants to exist on this market. Now, to be honest with all of you, the point that me and my team began to get bullish on this thing was initially through the breaks up inside of, I believe, these areas here, and then these areas here. And then as it broke down, we again walked away from it until around specifically this break here. So as this break occurred, let me zoom in on that for all of you. As this break right here occurred, this is around where we began to become very bullish on gold again and began to follow it. Now you can see in following it, we had some good delivery followed by actually a few months, so about 3 months, 2.5 months of poor delivery where we actually stayed out of it. And then we started getting back in again and involved around these points here. So what I want to do is I want to showcase this firsthand. I want to walk you through, and again, as I do this, I'm going to just replay mode back to where we started to continue watching. The reason I want to do it this way for you, is because I really, really, really want you to understand something about your own trading. You need to be honest with yourself in regards to your testing. When I show up to make a video like this, and I'm doing it, yes, we all know, all of us, all of you watching, that the price on this over the next X amount of time is going to end up somewhere here. It's going to do that. We know that. We know it ends up going long. That's not important. As a trader, you work for yourself. You are your own independent barrier to succeeding, which means that you need to be extremely honest with yourself about how you would approach something in the moment. So in the moment, when I was looking at this, when the screener was reading bullish, when I was looking at it with my team, when we were actually trading it, this is the kind of thought process that I would apply to the market that I'm looking at and the market that I'm trading. And again, even though I know it might be heading up, I'm not going to force taking trades just because I know it's going to go up. Instead, I'm going to take trades in reference to my trading plan. Then I'm going to manage them in reference to my trading plan. Even though I know when I enter a trade here or here or here, I know it can go here, it doesn't matter. I'll likely get into a trade and get out of it around here when my rules are met, because you need to be honest with yourself in your own testing. So for my good man that left a comment and asked about it, and now he gets a completely free kind of video on it just so we can work through it and show you how a higher time frame system works. He said, can you do one more, but for a higher time frame? Sure. This is the EVC application of a higher time frame where you enter on a 4-hour, you validate on a daily, and you contextually view the market on a weekly. Now, contextually as well, the screener at this time has been showing overall bullishness. And so I move to a weekly here, what we see is a large period of chop and nothing happening. At which point, once again, price was just coming down and down and down, and then all of a sudden it began to reach higher. Around these points, especially if the lower time frames begin to agree, is where there is opportunity for potential longs. Then we again go through that stage 1. This would be like a stage 1 right here, into a stage 2, a stage 1 to a stage 2, a stage 1 into a stage 2, and now we're anticipating that the stage 1 and 2 continuation will go and go and go. Now at the moment, we've entered a shorter term stage 1 on the weekly here, but that by no means indicates that price wants to go lower or higher or anything like that. So right now, all I can expect is that price is likely going to turn itself up and keep moving to the top side. So what I can do is I can keep an eye on the daily for the exact things that I normally like to see. You can see at the moment we are sailing this higher, but there is no tightness in the ranges. There's no tightness in regards to where price is trading in between or anything like that, with the exception of, actually currently where it's surfing higher with the rising 50 and actually going sideways just a little bit right around here. Right now, I would probably give it a little bit more time, so I would not jump down just yet. I would want to see it just to kind of build this range a little bit longer, show that it's kind of stage 1ing inside of here, kind of like this, and then we can look to take something. So I don't know if it'll do that. Okay, yeah, so I mean, it's getting tight and it's doing so inside of this little area here. Fantastic. That's all I need. At that point already, the 4-hour is calling my name. It's telling me, hey, please look at me. Tell me if there's a reason that I should be taking you. And again, we have this high right here that lines up directly with what we want to see. So we take the buy stop, we protect the low, and we look to take it long if it wants to validate. I don't know what happens next, but we'll see. So price plays around. Looks like it taps us in. Now we look for strength, okay? So strength-wise, right, we have a little bit of strength come in. At the moment, the way that I like to think about it is if you deleted the entry, you simply did this. If you deleted the entry, at which point, because I don't want you to think about the stop, at which point does it make sense for price to not want to return here? At this point, I think it makes a lot of sense that even if a move comes in, it can easily do this and then go, right? But if this starts to go higher, there's no reason to come back here. So if this puts in some kind of strength higher, I will simply move to break even, right? So again, notice how I think about my break even and management rules based on the actual move, and I don't force it based on the fact that it's not as big or the profit potential isn't enough yet. I just wait for clear strength, okay? So clear strength enters the market, and again, all I have to do is now move myself to break even. And at this point, back to the daily, we get to manage our trade the same way as you saw in those last 4 videos, where after about 3 to 5 candles based on the strength that comes in, we can take a partial and then let the rest manage. So right now we have about 1, 2, 3, kind of 4. We'll give it another chance to make a 5th one, otherwise we'll sell half. Okay, nope, nope, nope. Great, so we get a break even on this trade, just like that, take a break even. We delete all the, actually we'll keep that on so you guys can see it after, whenever we're done. We'll make this smaller to make it look clean. And we'll delete all the lines because again, the more lines on your chart, the more likely you are to start forcing things. Instead, it's better to get used to just not seeing anything and then following. So right now, if we start to surf higher and we put in a tight range, there should be an opportunity that can be created, right? So you can see we start to surf higher again, right? We continue surfing kind of along this rising 50, and we start putting in kind of a range. I don't see a perfect range just yet. Maybe there'll be something here, but this is where I would wait for it to basically contain itself a little bit better, because right now, in my opinion, it's a little bit loose. That's really all that's happening. So I want to give it time to create something that's a little bit clearer in regards to the overall move. And again, you kind of have this moving higher, this moving sideways, and now all of a sudden you have price being supplied, it's because there's sellers coming in inside of a tighter area across the overall move, which means that if it goes sideways now, which it's actually doing, demand that comes in is going to accumulate and hopefully take us to a new move higher. So that's where I step back to a 4-hour and I pay attention to the story okay? Being told by the overall structure. So structurally, once again, we move from a low to a high. That's an impulse rule. And then there's the rule of the anticipation of the higher low being created here. So now what I'm really focused on is an MB validation higher and then a buy stop of some sort. I don't see one just yet because you can see we have kind of this line here. Maybe if it goes a little bit lower, there is this point here, but this is with a downwards moving 50. So what I want to see, if I am to trade this, is probably a move up, a pause, and then a buy stop around this point here. Because again, I have an understanding as to what I'm looking for a trade to become valid. So you can see it comes up, but then it just re-breaks down. Now again, this can become clean, but I don't see anything just yet. Comes up extremely heavily, and now what I'm hoping for is a pause so we can actually take a long. Fantastic, right? So this is exactly what I want to see. Now, at this point, if I was trading live, I actually would check the daily chart. Because on the daily chart, or the validation, it would give me a good understanding if this area right here is tight enough. Now, the reason that I'm not going to do that right now is because I want to be very fair in this overall backtest for you guys, because I know that if I go to a daily, it might show me what's going to happen if it goes down or if it goes up. So instead, I'm going to try to imagine what the daily kind of looks like and imagine where a tight range could be forming. And I believe one could be forming here, okay, in my opinion. So in this scenario here, I'm happy to take a long through this high with a protection. Take a look at the ATR, it's around 11, this is 25. So this is actually too big, I can't even take that. So I'll give it time to maybe set up again and we'll see what we can do. Maybe it'll get cleaner. So hopefully we go sideways for a little bit, right? Sorry about that. Hopefully we go sideways for a little bit, just like we're doing right now. Comes down, it looks like, sure. Looks like it's starting to fail, so now I can go to a daily because now it's either going to keep containing itself or become clear. Now you can see, right, it started coming out of there, but it never created a clear move, right? It was very sporadic, it was very insane, and as a result, the entry time frame now keeps us from taking a trade that may or may not work out. And now again, I'll delete the lines because I don't want them getting in my way. I want to be looking at price, allowing it to tell me the story of what's going on, okay? So you can see where once again, same thing. We're building those higher lows across the rising averages. We're putting in some kind of tight range across the top here. And again, it's looking very, very clean to step down. So that's what I'll do. Now, structurally, we're still in this leg right here. We're still in an overall accumulation, which is good. We're meeting the anticipation of the higher low rule, and we're moving higher. And we just put in an MB or a demand zone, a potential demand zone, just at this point here. This is a long I'd be more than happy to take because now you have alignment across multiple things happening. And if it taps us in, great. And if it doesn't, we walk away. So we wait. Still looks good. I see no problem with this. If it just wants to go long now, it can. So it does tap us in. And yeah, stop looks fine. So now all we do is we manage into potential strength. So price does not give us any strength, comes down very abruptly, puts in a nice candle. Again, you want to ask yourself if it makes sense for price to now return if this is the true move. I think it still does, so I'll wait a little bit. Yep, all good. And we take a loss actually on this. Fantastic. So we go ahead and grab a -1. And then we'll go like this. So we can record that and we'll head back to the daily, okay? Very, very simple. Now you can see this is becoming quite a loose and a little bit choppy. It's very hard to see a move here. So I would ignore this now and wait for it to become clear. So on the daily now I wait. Well, actually now all of a sudden on the daily and on the waiting of the daily, you can see we're starting to put in this relatively super tight range in regards to where price is, right? Now again, over the last few times of this happening, right? If you notice, right, it gets kind of tight, but then it keeps on making these little moves outside of it, which is fine. This happens, but that also has added to the basically the to a more sporadic kind of action. So I'm going to delete these actually, and I'm going to take a look at this from a fresh set of eyes. And honestly, looking at this, it just looks choppy. So I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. Okay, perfectly fine. So either way, you can see even if we used it, nothing would have set up. But in this scenario, nothing ends up happening anyway. So we just simply go back to waiting for an actual big move to happen, just like that. And then we can start following it again, right? So in this scenario, I had nothing to do. And it's very hard to watch an area like this because, well, there's a lot of choppy price. And that's not price that I want to be interested in. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful move higher. All we can hope for now, because this is how trading works, is you're not in this, and you have to be okay with that. But what I'm going to wait for is for price to pull back to a rising average, to hopefully go sideways on the average, build a tight range, and then we can buy. See if we can get that. So we start to do that, and there is kind of a range here, but it has not, in my opinion, surfed higher across here, right? So it's kind of put in this, but this is just unclear to me right now. It looks to me like it wants to surf a little bit higher, let this 20 catch up a bit, and then there may be a trade somewhere around like somewhere here. But again, it's not built yet. So all I can do is wait. And if it goes without me, again, that's okay. Yeah, so okay, so there you go. So in this case, again, if it moves without me, I have to be okay with that, right? Because I don't see this as clear enough. If someone took this and they made money here, and then maybe they get break even, whatever it does, that's fine. This is the game of trading. What you need to realize is it's not perfect, but it's perfect to the beholder. And as long as you can accept that, you're going to make money as a trader. Okay, so I'll keep waiting for some tightness in this. Maybe it'll happen. So you can see, okay, yeah. So now you can see it's starting to surf higher along this rising 20 and starting to put in this little range here. And it's actually getting kind of tight. It is actually getting tight. So maybe another candle or two. Yeah, I mean, this is just perfect. So this points to me that, you know, we're tightening up inside this. We're surfing higher along the rising 20, the rising 10. The 10 is just coming back. And now you can almost foresee a move higher if it's going to happen. So I'll go back to the 4 hour and take a look at what's actually going on here. Okay. So we're moving higher. Structurally, we look very, very good, just moving long. We break a little bit higher here and we start forming this sideways move. And actually, just looking at this, the buy stop through this high of the formation of basically two demands, which is 1, 2, more than happy to take this. This is called the double MB rule. Protect the low, look at the ATR, just over the ATR, which is good, and look to take it long. That's it. See if we can get tapped in. So we get tapped in, and once again, we want to wait for strength that kind of defines that price will not want to come back. So we look for that kind of strength. I don't see it yet. Looks like it might stop us out, but that's okay. So a little bit of strength, but we want to see some true strength out of it. Okay, beautiful strength. And we get to move this thing now to break even. And again, we come back to square one, where after 3 days, or in this, 3 days, because 3 candles, 3 to 5 candles, we should see price give us an opportunity to partial. So we have about 1, 2, this could be the third, about 3.69. We'll give it a third candle if it wants to give us some strength. Yeah, beautiful. So we get another strength candle. We'll partial 50% there at about 4.9, 4.9 over 2, plus 2.45. Now, what I really, really want to pinpoint before we continue this, right, is that we started this test around here, right? And already we've traded about 3 months of data, right? 3 months and a week of data. Now, a lot of traders are not able to wait for their opportunities like this. They think they need to be showing up every single day to trade. This is not the case. If you trade a higher time frame, this right here is what you have to get used to doing, for waiting for the actual move to be present. And the way you do that is you look at a number of things, you scan them all, you look at across all of the setups, and you look for the setups that line up for something that is very clear for you. All right, so now we just trail with the 10, just like I taught you guys in the last few videos, and we'll see what this thing wants to do. Oh, okay, so I guess we did catch the big gold move, because this is what happened with the big gold move. All right, cool. So we wait for the 10. And looks like we have a closure below the 10 right here at about 10.3, which puts us as 5.15, so plus 5.15. Okay. And now once again, we come back to square one, where all we're doing, because we know that the weekly has now joined a very clear stage 2, it looks like. So if we go to the weekly here, we should see that, right? Yeah. So we traded out of this weekly stage 2. As it started to stage 1, we started to get involved because we anticipated to keep moving. Then the stage 2 began to happen and we got in again. And now the stage 2 is clearly happening. So all we can do is anticipate continuations in this move. And if we go to the daily, we don't have any semblance of price moving higher across the EMAs or going sideways yet, right? I don't see anything. So I'm just going to wait because that's all I can do. Okay. And now what we have, again, because sometimes it might take just a few days, but again, this was literally a week. Remember, when I just said it's not ready yet, that's a whole week that I just waited for it to potentially be ready. So now we're kind of surfing along this rising 20, and range-wise, right, I don't really see anything super clear. Maybe something along these lines, there may be something inside of there. But what I usually like when something like this occurs is for this to build up and become a little clearer, because right now, to me, it's very loose. So if it moves without me, that's okay, but I hope that we maybe get, something clear out of this. Okay, phenomenal. So it starts to surf higher. The 50 begins to catch up, rising 50, surfs higher, and actually starts putting in, you can now see it a little bit better, kind of this tight range across the top. Great, which means that the 4 hour, if the structural story aligns, should begin to set up some clear moves. And lo and behold, we have an overall structural move, the anticipation of the higher low rules being met structurally. And then we're starting to validate higher and create a beautiful high through which I don't see why we can't buy stop. As a buy stop through that would mean a reach above all these MAs, and then we could see price move significantly higher. Look at the ATR, about 14. This puts us 26. almost double, which is fine. And we'll look for an entry. Price comes down. It still looks clear to me, so if it taps me in, it's all good. I'm happy to go with it. Look at this, 14.28. I'm gonna just protect right where the EMAs are. There we go. We get tapped in, we look for strength. That's all we can do. Well, I guess that's what happens sometimes. It can still come back, but that was really good. Now we start getting a little move out of this, right? We want to see probably a little bit more strength, and then we can move to break even. Yep, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We get to move that to break even, and once again, on the daily, we have about 1, 2. So the next day, if it's big bullish, we can easily look to partial 50%. Nope. Nope. Beautiful. About 5 days in, and a bullish move, about 2.09, which puts us at around 1.04, right? Something like that. I don't know. Plus 1.04. Sounds about right. Okay, and the rest we get to manage with the 10, and we'll see what happens. So in this case, I would not have closed here, and then on this day, I would have just taken the break-even loss. So that's it, right? It ran 4R, but that's okay. We made one from it. That's how the game works. The more you start to recognize that's how the game works, the more money you're going to make, right? Now, again, you can see this setup that was happening becomes even clearer. It becomes better. But there's no tightness through which it makes sense for me to look for a trade. So I have to wait now for something to start to form. Right now, as I'm looking at this, I mean, I really just, you know, it is surfing nicely. It is moving higher with the moving averages, but I don't really see a tight range through which I can be a buyer yet. Right? This looks very loose, so I have to wait. Okay, this is looking very, very good. Very, very good. You can see across the top now, we've kind of formed this little tight range. Beautiful. And now if I look at the 4 hour, let's take a look what we got. So 4 hour structurally looks really good, but it's actually breaking down now, which is a little bit weird. So what I want to see from this really is a reach higher, a pause, and then a buy stop through this high probably. Yeah. it's like as if I pre-watched it, right? It should feel like that. And the reason for that is because I keep doing this over and over. So actually, you know, I would have buy stopped this, but then it came and took out the low, so nothing to do. I wait. Comes up again. We pause again right there. Okay, but I hate when it gets a tiny, like it becomes like I'd rather it come down first. So I'm gonna wait for it to come down first. Beautiful. So again, it wouldn't have mattered in this case, but these small rules will affect you in the long run in regards to giving you really good opportunities. So let's see if we get an entry. We get tapped in. Yeah, great. So we get tapped in on that candle, and of course we're still in it. No, of course, you know. So all we want to wait for now is some strength. If it kind of takes out this high with power, that should be good. Takes out that high. Yep. What? It does, but it, you know, if the next candle takes out this high, that's an instant break even for me. So if it's yeah, there you go. So at that point, as it takes out that high, I'd be moving this thing to break even. So again, it's an understanding of, does it make sense for price to stop now, or can it make a move? Okay, so well, then there's nothing to manage, right? It just ends up coming back down. So you can, I'll show you it in real time on the 4 hour, right? There you go. Just like that. Take a nice break even, and there's nothing to do, right? Yeah, cool. So move back to the daily, where we can delete this, and once again, we can wait for a setup to occur, because there's nothing else to do. So you can see it starts to kind of surf higher, but now it's happening on the bottom side of lower moving averages, and the 50 is moving over. So even though right now, if you were a trader that, for instance, if you were a trader that maybe, let me make this green, that maybe used another one like 100, because some traders add more to their list. So some people use 100, some people use even 100. You can see that now, because you're now taking into account more of the actual structure of what's going on, you could argue that this is now surfing higher with a rising 100 and putting in a range. And in that scenario, there may be a trade inside of something like this. But because that's not me, and because I have not added that to my repertoire just yet, and that might be something that I'm working on, well, there's a little bit of a inclination as to what I'm personally doing in my own trading, in my own testing, there's nothing for me to take here. So this is where you have to be very honest with yourself. So even though I know there could be a trade here, and I think there actually is, because of being honest with myself, I remember a lot of the gold action, there's nothing for me to take here, okay? Yeah, I mean, so again, this is a trade that would have been beautiful for some people right here, right? Beautiful, right? Because it surfs higher along kind of that rising 100 probably here, right? Kind of puts in this range, and this is a perfection move higher if it wants to go. I can't be there for that. Instead, what do I have to do? I have to wait for price to move higher, then come sideways and give me a setup maybe somewhere here. And then I can trade it, right? Because it has a great history of what it likes to do. So again, it's same problem here, right? It's still surfing like a 100, a 150 or something, but it's on the bottom side. All I can expect from price now is a move lower. There's nothing else I can do, right? So I have to wait. And in this case, it doesn't move lower. And if you notice, this might remind you of a certain little area, right? If you notice the action, it's very, very similar, right? It's very, very similar. That's something to take into account. I don't know what that means, but that's what happens. So again, you get a very nice move. And now, all right, you're above the 50. You're now moving higher. You've made this impulse higher. So my eyes are instantly going to the surf here and some kind of tightness, but I don't see tightness yet. So I'll hopefully wait. Maybe we'll see some tightness. So again, I'm going to delete these because I don't want them to get in my way, in my thought process, in the way of my thought process. I just want it to set up if it wants to set up. So yeah, I mean, it's a very close one. For me, there is a surf here, and then it does kind of get tight across there, right? But I missed it. If there was an entry, it was inside of there, and that's okay. So now all I need to wait for, because again, if I miss it, I miss it. Now, hopefully it rolls back over and gives me a setup. Otherwise, this thing is gonna do what? It's gonna keep moving higher, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's part of trading, especially when you're on a higher time frame. Just because on a lower time frame, if I go over to a lower time frame, there's gonna be things that look like setups, does not mean those setups are worth taking, because they're no longer part of your trading plan. So I get back to this time frame and I wait, and it goes without me. And now what do you guys notice, right? I kind of circled these points to you, right? And then you're getting a move. So what do I need to do? I need to see something like this happen next if there's going to be a trade, right? So there's going to be a move. Hopefully there's going to be a pause. There's going to be a buildup, and then there's going to be some kind of trade that's worth taking through the stage one, okay? And there we are. We're in live price. So we're likely, if this move is going to continue to put in actual setups for us, we're looking for a version of this, or this, or this to occur here, which means we're probably a few weeks out from that occurring. And funny enough, over the last 4 videos, every action you've seen, all these actions that you saw, were actually the 1 minute, we're actually the 1 minute, actually we'll go to the 6. We're actually the 6-minute validations and trades that could have been taken through the delivery of the stage 2 of that higher time frame, which, as you guys might remember, was our contextual time frame, right? So that hourly was our context time frame throughout all of this when we looked to trade it over the last week. And this is actually where a lot of the members in my team made their first huge and very good trades. And as a result, you get to a point where once again, we're seeing it right now. This guy just said today, I think I can stick around the mentorship for the long run. And of course he's going to be here for the long run, because the return he's going to see on his capital, especially from just a starting point, is already more than what he's probably ever gotten from anywhere else. And this is now provided that he also has the best tools in the industry to help him with doing this. And that's why you got to join the team. But if you don't, because you can't afford it or anything else, use these videos. Get tremendously better. Go get funded or start a personal account. Build that account into something beautiful, and then come and tell your story to me. Okay? Thank you all for watching.